If you know me, you know that I love reading and I love bullet journaling, so it only makes sense to put two things together and bullet journal about the books that I read. I set a goal of 50 books for myself in 2023 and I successfully achieved it. I read 50 books, so today I'm going to be making a reading journal spread about all the books I read in 2023, all of my stats, and I cannot wait to take you guys along with me. I'm actually going to be decorating my spread with a piece of art made on sticker paper by Online Labels, so thank you so much to Online Labels for sponsoring this video. Online Labels sent me this huge pack of their fantastic sticker paper. I have been using their sticker paper for 2 years now at least, and so I'm super excited to have this partnership and put you guys on because this is the best sticker paper I've ever tried, and let me tell you, I've tried a lot. So this particular sticker paper is just white matte. It literally looks like copy paper. It's just a blank 11 by 8.5 letter size paper. It's actually too big to fit on the screen here, but when you look really close, there's actually 2 layers here, and all I have to do is pick at it a little bit, peel off the back, and we can see that this side is adhesive. So it's super strong stick, but also it looks pretty nonchalant and simple. Both sides are white, so just make sure you double check which side is sticky when you start drawing on it. But this is something that I've used so much in my business, when I had an Etsy shop, in my current business, in my bullet journal, and I couldn't recommend this brand enough. I'm going to be using some of this sticker paper in a few minutes to make my reading bullet journal spread. However, first I want to show you examples of where I've used it in the past. So one thing I talk about a lot on my channel is using alcohol markers in your bullet journal. Because alcohol markers are super pigmented, they always bleed through bullet journal pages. However, I love how alcohol markers write and how they work with like materials. So what I love to do is actually use alcohol markers on sticker paper and then pasting the sticker paper directly into my bullet journal. From far away, it is hard to tell, but this entire artwork was actually done with watercolor and alcohol marker on sticker paper, and then I just cut around it and put it in my bullet journal. From far away, you can't even see, but when you see close up, there is a little tiny outline, but it literally blends in super well and matches perfectly with this side, which was just directly drawn into the bullet journal with very light watercolor. Last November, I used a very similar technique of using alcohol markers on sticker paper. However, I did not use Online Labels sticker paper. I used a different brand that I just bought from Walmart. And let me show you the issues with other brands. So as you can see on this cover page, I drew this line drawing. She was drawn on sticker paper, alcohol markers, pasted her on top of the notebook here. But if you look over here, there is this huge yellow splotch on this side of the page. And that's because this paper did not absorb the marker at all. And so whenever I closed the journal, all the ink from this side came onto this side and just made a huge mess. And this happened on every single one of my pages in my journal. As you can see, I drew over here and there is a yellow stain over here. This totally frustrated me this month, and I was super annoyed because I loved my drawings, but the other side of every spread looked super ugly with all this bright yellow. And so I learned my lesson not to use this brand of sticker paper again, and I went back to Online Label sticker paper because they are the absolute best. Their paper is thick, high quality, and completely absorbs the ink. You don't have to worry about it rubbing off and ghosting onto other sides of the paper. Thank goodness we are back to Online Labels. Besides just that though, you can use sticker paper for other reasons. Like here in July, I used sticker paper to fix this mistake. So whenever I drew this setup, this was in 2021, I actually wrote June on accident. But when I realized it, I didn't want to obviously redo the entire cover page. So I just cut out a piece of sticker paper, like a little tiny square, and then pasted it right on top, colored over everything, wrote July, and from far away, you can't even tell that the mistake is there. Also, I've used sticker paper for making stickers. So when I had an Etsy shop, I used to make stickers. Here's one of my old sticker sheets. As you can see, I've used most of the rest of these stickers. This was done on Online Labels paper, super sticky, high quality. Even like a year and a half later, I haven't touched the sticker sheet in a while, and it's like really adhered to my finger. So I've used this sticker paper for so many things and will continue to do so with my new online shop and with my business and bullet journal. All right, so let's get into it because like I mentioned, I'm going to be making an art piece to put into my reading journal spread first, and I'm actually making this on Online Label sticker paper because I'm going to be using yet again my alcohol markers technique to draw a piece of art and then color it in. So right now I'm just outlining this girl who's taking a mirror selfie on the ground. I got the inspiration from this image on Pinterest. Thank you, Pinterest, yet again. And I'm doing this with my Ohuhu fine liners, and then afterwards I'm going to go in, use alcohol markers, add all the coloring, shading, and then once I cut her out, I'll be able to use her in the reading journal spread. Like I mentioned earlier earlier as well, I don't actually have a reading journal, but I like to make reading journal spreads occasionally because it's just a fun activity for me. I love books, I love reading, and I love journaling, so it's like put two in one, and it's like my favorite activity. I wish I had time for a full reading journal, but that's basically the reason why I don't actually have one, is because I don't have the time to keep up with it. I occasionally do reading journal spreads, and I may like get a journal, not to be like a 2024 reading journal because that would require me to make more than just a couple spreads to actually fill up the journal throughout the year, but I may just get a journal for reading spreads. That way I could fill them up as the years go on, and it doesn't have to be like I'm holding myself to one spread every month or anything crazy like that. It's just like creating spreads throughout the years, maybe like year wrap-ups or TBRs for certain months, just random things. That might be something I look into because I do happen to have a lot of reading journal setups at the end of each of my bullet journals because I don't actually have a separate journal for this. And the smart thing to do would just be to use one of my excess bullet journals for this purpose. So maybe later down the line, I'll look into that. But for now, this is just going to go in the back of my 2023 bullet journal, and that works perfectly fine for me. As far as coloring, I decided to go with a red palette for this spread. The stationery that I brought out was basically all red. Ephemera, washi tape, stickers. For some reason, I'm really feeling the red vibes recently, so I decided to color in with a red t-shirt, jeans, and then blonde hair, tan skin. One of my favorite things is just to keep adding shadows and building up color, so I really enjoyed this particular drawing. While I continue working on this spread, however, I want to talk for a bit about my reading from the year because I think it's always fun to talk about books that I enjoy and recommend some for you guys. But first, we'll talk about statistics because basically on this spread, the right side is going to be a big notebook paper where I will list all of the books that I read in ranking order, like what stars I gave them, and on the left is going to be all of my statistics. So let's talk about statistics from the year. Like I said, I read 50 books, which was my goal. It's been my goal since 2021, so 3 years in a row reading 50 books, and I have succeeded all 3 years, but have barely surpassed it. So I'm gonna stick with 50 for next year too. I think it's a good number for me. About 4 to 5 books every month just seems kind of the way that I can keep consistent and not pressure myself, but also allow myself to go through periods of not too much reading, but also really heavy reading. Maybe later down the line, I'll bump this up to 55, 60, but for now it's just 50. The other goal I set, however, was 20,000 pages in this year, and I really thought I was going to achieve that because I was ahead of myself for a while, but then through December, I really got into not a reading slump because I do enjoy reading still, but I just got interested in other things and didn't leave time in my life for reading because I had already hit my books goal. So I did not hit my pages goal of 20,000 pages. I only got to 18,904. So super close, only about 1,000 away. And I may be able to finish that in the next couple days because there's still about 5 days left in the year. However, I'm not really going to pressure myself to do so. I got close, 95% of the way through my goal. So, you know, we can almost count that as well. My average rating from the year was 3.65. Now, I would say I'm not really a generous rater, but I'm not a super harsh rater as well. I actually gave quite a lot of books 5 stars this year, and more than I usually do, but it's because I found a couple series that I've really enjoyed and just happened to like every single book and give them all 5 stars. But usually I am very like careful with my 5 stars. I have to really adore a book to give it 5 stars. And also I usually don't give 1-star reviews because what happens with me is I'm a mood reader. So if I don't actually like a book that much, I'm not going to get to the point of finishing it to give it a super low review. I'm just going to quit the book. So what I started doing is if I DNF a book, I'll give it 1 star because that's just a signal to me that I didn't like it. I DNF'd it. And then if I finish a book, then I'll rank it from 2 to 5 because like I said, if I'm actually finishing a book and struggling through it, it means it can't be worse than a 2-star. You know what I mean? So I DNF'd I think 3 to 4 books this year. Okay, I'm looking at my phone now, and yeah, I DNF'd 3. So I DNF'd Twisted Games by Anna Huang, Forever Never by Lucy Score, and Now Open Your Eyes by Nicole Fiorina, which was actually a crazy one because the first 2 books of that series I loved, but the last one I hated. So those 3 books I gave 1 star this year. Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. Like I said though, I also gave a lot of books 5 stars this year, so I'm just gonna talk about a couple of them. I read the Chestnut Springs series for the first time this year, and I absolutely fell in love with it. All 5 books were 5 stars for me, and listen, I'm not a cowboy romance girl, okay? This is not something I'd usually be interested in, but Elsie Silver can write a book, okay? So I loved everything that she did. I also read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame this year. Both were 5 stars for me. That series is amazing. Trust the hype with that one, okay? It's a fantasy romance, absolutely amazing. Love the characters, love the character flaws, and I'm so excited for book 3 to come out whenever it does. I also read If We Were Villains. Oh my gosh, I sobbed at the end of that book. Absolutely amazing. It's like a Shakespearean kind of story. They are in a boarding school, 7 friends, and it's the story of the drama, and it's mystery and murder, and it's amazing. And then I also read Crescent City #1, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. It's her first adult book. I I've read both of her YA series, both Akotar and Throne of Glass. Loved both of them when I read them the first time like 3 years ago. And then this year, I read Crescent City and I absolutely loved the first book, so I cannot wait to get my hands on the second because I was actually very surprised on that. Talking about a few more stats, my average pages this year was about 373, which I think is pretty good. It's a good average length for a book. The shortest book I read was 59 pages, which was a little novella, and then the longest I read was 803 pages, and that was Crescent City. My most popular authors were St. Abbey, because I read her entire series, and then I also read Elsie Silver frequently. I read all 5 of her books, and I also read Nicole Fiona frequently. I had 2% nonfiction this year and 98% fiction, because mostly I read fantasy, romance, and all fiction. But this year I also read a memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, which was fantastic, 4 stars, very good book, and that was my one nonfiction for the year. While I finish this up, let's talk for a second about my process behind this bullet journal spread. So like I said, I'm going to be using a lot of red color, but I also am using this technique of like crumpled up lined paper like it's from a school notebook or something. This was left over from a theme idea that I was going to do for January, but I actually changed my mind and did whales instead. So since I had all this leftover paper, I thought I would just use it in the spread anyway. And I also like the little accent of the red line that is already on notebook paper. It just seems kind of fitting for the red colors here. I'm also going to be pulling out a lot of red washi tapes, stickers, ephemera, background squares of color, and really just like having fun. I had zero plan going into the spread besides the picture that I drew and the lined paper. So you'll just basically see me add more and more and more red things and just really fill up the spread with just all the random stationery that I have in this color palette. So as you can see, I did not actually finish filling in this spread here. Unfortunately, I ran out of time and had to stop filming. However, I'll put a picture here on the screen of my finished spread so you can see what everything looked like. But with that being said, I want to thank Online Labels so much for sponsoring this video. Like I said earlier, their sticker paper is super high quality. I've been using it for 2-3 years and I will continue to use it because it's just super dependable, super easy, relatively inexpensive, and I really appreciate their brand. If you want to check out Online Labels, I'll have a link in the description box below where you can check out their products, and you can use the code here on the screen for money off your purchase. Again, thank you so much to Online Labels for sponsoring this video. And with that, I want to thank you guys so much for a great year on YouTube. I'll be taking a week break from posting, but I will see you guys in the new year. So I love you guys so much. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys very soon.